Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
There's the possibility that we are consuming a lot of information. But the question is, how many of those are translating into actions in the right direction? Now, the problem is not the consumption. Rather, it is the reliance on just the default mechanism for processing them within us. That is where the issue is. When we default to, or when we rely on just the default mechanism for processing information and we are not active or intentional about them, we're running things on stereo. Learning sometimes happens on the go, but having an ever-improving system of documenting and processing the information that we're taking in is an effective strategy. Bringing it home, processing involves asking yourself questions, or the ones that you're unable to effectively answer, to ask others. The end goal is to have deeper level of understanding and practical application of what has been consumed. These are some recommended steps. 1. Taking reflective, active pauses after learning a new thing or relearning something. So when you learn a new thing or you try to recall and relearn what you've learned before, you should take an active pause. What it does for you is it takes you, if it's an active pause, it brings you to a reflective mode where you can ask yourself some questions about what you've learned. And that takes me to the second point, which is asking yourself, what am I doing with what I know now? So it's one thing to gather information, consume them, have that knowledge base, as good as it is to have them stored in your subconscious, but you need active use of those information for it to, one, stick, and secondly, for you to get the result of what you learned. Because the goal of learning is for you to have a result, which is a change, basically. So you should ask yourself, you should be able to ask yourself, what am I doing with this information now? Forget about tomorrow. So anything that you want to ask yourself, what am I doing with this information now? Because there's an energy around what you just learned, and there's that motivation of I can do it. So you need to quickly plan and channel the energy into a decision. So if you have done the first step rightly, which is to think about what you just learned, most times you might not necessarily agree with everything like in the new information or whatever you've learned, but you should be able to dialogue with the information, juggle it. Which one do you agree with, or which one is workable for you? Which one is, practically speaking, useful to you at your current state? So number 3 is quite interesting. It is to ask yourself, what can I ask myself about this new information? Or what can I ask others? What can I engage others to learn more about this new information? It takes you a level higher cognitively, in the sense of not just thinking about what you can do with it, but deep diving, because asking yourself what you can do with it, you might just see 1, 2, 3 things. Okay, I can do this, I'm changing this, I'm implementing this, which is great. But that's most times just on the surface level. But asking yourself, what can I even ask myself about this thing? Like, it is more like a mental cognition, thinking about your thinking. So, okay, what I just learned now, okay, what can I ask myself? Because at first, if you say, what can I do about it, it can put some level of pressure on you, depending on your personality, right? However, if you patiently or you calmly ask yourself, this is great, I think, what can I ask myself about this? Or what am I thinking about this? And finally, documenting the knowledge if you would like to reference it later. We need to know that we are being exposed to a lot of information, whether we like it or not. As much as we control our consumption, we should also well control our processing such that we maximize what we're getting. Getting information is good because you would need to know before you can do so well or effectively. But it doesn't stop at acquisition of information. We need to have strategies to process this information and ultimately use them. You might not be able to do this for all information that you gather or consume or the intake of information that you do, but you should do this for as much as possible, that especially the ones that you would like to retain effectively. There is a lot that we're learning. There's a lot that we are consuming. I wouldn't just say learning, because learning means you can use, or you are in the position that you are actively using it, right? Or you've mastered the way to use it. But I would say having strategies to document and process information is always a handy one. Friends, until next time, remember you can make things better by your doing it.